Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and just start jumping in here. We got Mike just jumped in as well. It's good. Welcome, Mike.
Hey.
And we've got another face just kind of floating there. Isaac.
I love it.
Which
hey,
is
Mike.
Great.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
That'll look a little bit better. Okay. Whoops. I did not mean to click on that. All right, guys, we're going to dive in. We got a lot of people. So first off, this is a webinar series that has been going on. I think we're in episode 10 or 11 right now. I'm not sure what it is, but we started this a few months ago, 4 months ago, maybe, as the community. We started, we've been working on a bunch of Web3 stuff for a while. And I just said, hey, would you guys like to learn? And a ton of people signed up. We had hundreds of people on the first webinar, and we have lots of people on every week. And then we have we then take this and we post it to ocavu.com/insights. And so if you're interested in other NFT and Web3 discussions, you can go back and look at past episodes if this is your first time joining. If you've been here all the time, then great. Today is going to be a little bit different than some of the past ones we've done. In all the past ones, we've really been talking about the industry as a whole, and we haven't really talked about what we're doing so much. But we had a very big, eventful week last week, and lots of crazy prep getting ready for it. I feel like because of the holiday yesterday, I feel like I've gotten at least a couple nights of normal sleep now. After a very rough week last week, in lots of late nights and fun late nights, lots of good stuff. It's all good. It's just stressful, right? When you're launching new things and doing big things and preparing to make stuff happen. It's exciting. So we have today is going to double as the Hitchhiker's Guide to Web3. Episode 9 or 10 or 11 or wherever we are right now, but it's also going to act as the Ocavu AMA episode number 1. And we'll be doing these regularly. I'm not sure if it'll be weekly or bi-weekly, but certainly we'll do it as needed when we have bigger things coming up. And so today we're going to talk about the Ocavu brand change just a little bit, the Ocavu Network Token launch, debrief some of what went well with that, some of what we think could have gone better, some of what we're going to be doing in the future, talk about some roadmap. And one thing that I want to, have very, clear here is, I see this word all the time, and I didn't know what it meant when I first got into Web3, whenever that was. This word doxed, right? Of like, oh man, the team's fully doxed. And yeah, it's because there's a lot of Web3 projects that literally come out of a basement, right? And it's just a few people that say, hey, let's launch a token and then rug pull and nobody will even know who we are. And we're going to be completely anonymous and Web3 is all anonymous. And the reality is that's not true. The reality is we want the entire world to be able to take advantage of the incredible things that NFTs and Web3 and the metaverse and all this stuff can bring, and still bring our own individual real selves to the table. And so we're not some, a few guys in a basement. We're a company that's been around for a long time. Mike and I are the co-founders right here. You can find us on LinkedIn. We've been around for a long time. And many of you that are sitting on this webinar know us really well anyway, but many of you will see replays of this. And so feel free to add us on LinkedIn, talk to us, give us ideas. It's a real business. We care and we listen to the community, care about and we listen to the community a lot. And from the very beginning, Mike and I have always listened to the community and our customers to say, how can we provide value? If we can't provide real value, then we can go work at Burger King and we can make burgers, and that will at least provide some value to somebody enjoying some Whoppers, right? We really care about providing value. The Ocavu Network, the Ocavu Network Token, will provide incredible value as we work to help businesses onboard into Web3 and communities onboard into Web3. and we're very, very excited about a lot of what is coming down there. Before I get too far down the road and start talking about the roadmap, because that's the exciting stuff, I want to debrief a little bit our Ocavu. Well, just really last week, what happened? Just all the events we had. So about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago or so, we said, hey, I know we're in the process of launching this token. We're in the process of launching the Ocavu Network, and we had some things live and working. And we're like, but wouldn't it be awesome if we could launch all of these things around Cryptopia, right? Cryptopia is a big conference that a lot of you probably listening in were able to attend. And huge event here in Utah that's just getting started. It's the second event, and it was just an incredible day on Thursday. Kudos to Scott, Paul, and Elle, and everybody that's involved in creating that event. I expect it to continue to grow very substantially. But so that provided a launch platform for us to be able to say, hey, let's have a lot of these things kind of converge at the same time. And so we decided to launch the Ocavu Network, which has been ready for a while, although we're constantly adding new features, things like that. And then we decided to launch the Ocavu Network Token during the same day. And we did a midnight launch, which seemed like a really fun idea at the time. And turned out it was really fun, but also really, really tiring, right? The launches never go as you expect them to go. They're going to go better or worse, or the combination of some of those things. And then, it's 1 o'clock by the time you figure out, oh, hey, we should adjust this thing. And, anyway, so nobody really slept that night. And that was a stressful couple of days. But yeah, I think we're all up and running now. By the way, guys, this is an AMA. And so I'm going to be talking for a bit here, and we'll have other people jump in and make comments as well as needed as they want to. So Mike and Jeremy, feel free to jump in, but please ask questions. Please ask questions in the comments. We'd love to address what you guys want to know and hear, but I'm going to try to cover as much as possible. So Thursday night, midnight, we launch. We had some issues with the staking website early on. One of the issues was we were pulling from the Polygon, the Polyscan API, right? And there was no information. The price was 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, right? And the information wasn't being updated because we didn't have our CoinGecko listing approved, and we had to figure out some of those things. And we had that fixed by the next day, which is great. And now, if you go to Polygon Scan and look up the Ocavu Network Token, you'll find us, right? We're on, all the information has started to populate. We also, another thing that didn't help us a ton was some of the issues we were trying to fix were over the weekend, over a holiday weekend, nonetheless, when everybody's camping, right? And so that always slows things down a little bit. But man, we were working hard. We were working really, really hard. There's so many people that are behind the scenes that aren't on the call today, mostly developers, front end of web developers and back end Solidity developers and people behind the scenes, and everybody just making sure that we provide as much transparency into the process as possible, right? We wanted people to be able to see, fully diluted market caps and prices and everything and all of that, and have everything work. The other element that we did we just messed up on one thing was we have our streaming rewards for those that are staking, right? Staking rewards that are happening for the next 8 months. We missed a digit in the contract when we deployed it, right? We said, hey, we're giving away 1.7 million whatever tokens, and we just missed one digit, and we QA'd it, we QC'd it. We had multiple people look at it, and people just missed that it was off by a digit. So that's our bad. And so everybody that staked during the first about 24 hours, it was almost exactly 24 hours. We will take so they're probably about, if we were giving about 1.7 million a day, we ended up giving only about 170,000 rewards away. And so there's about 1.5 million of rewards that were not given out. And so we're running, it takes a little bit of time, do a little bit of forensics and see who was staking during that time. But we're going to make sure that we give some rewards out to everybody that did stake during those first 24 hours. We'll just blank them across everybody, and it'll be a good event. So anyway, guys, those were a couple things I was thinking about. Another thing that I want to address that I think is really important is I want to give a huge shout out to Giddy and their team. Like, those guys, they're good. They're really good at what they do. And I personally own a bunch of Giddy token. Unfortunately, they didn't let me invest in their company because that got closed down too fast before I had a chance to. But I am invested in their token, and I believe in their company and what they're doing, because they're taking a lot of these Web3 things. Anybody that did participate or has participated in a token launch understands how incredibly difficult this is. We really liked what they did when we knew we were going to launch this token at midnight at Cryptopia. I called some of the people over on the Giddy team and told them we were doing it, right? Our companies are really very not competitive in any way, shape, or form, right? Giddy's making DeFi easy, and we're doing, community and NFTs and different stuff, right? They're really very different. But we did really like the way that Giddy launched their token, their staking page, some of the ways that they did things. And so absolutely, we emulated a lot of what they did. We changed a few things. We tried to make it easier. And ultimately, yeah, the smoothness of the Giddy staking website is just a testament to how smart those guys are over there. They're really, really good. And so I want to give my very, very public, full vote of confidence in that team and say that I did not take all of my Giddy and put it over into the Ocavu token or anything like that. I'm still very much in there with Giddy and plan to be there for a while. So again, not investment advice, but just telling you what I'm personally doing. I believe in those guys and want to thank all of them. Also want to thank everybody at the Cryptopia. I mentioned a couple of people, Elle and Scott and Sarah, and just there's so many people over there that helped us make that a really fun, exciting event. And I can't wait for October. We'll be there as well. One last debriefing element that I would like to talk about, and I'd actually appreciate it if Jeremy would help with this one, is Jeremy, if you could talk about just a little bit about the Ocavu network and the wallet system and the tickets with Cryptopia, what you think went well, what you think could have gone better, what to expect in the near future from some of the improvements around that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're super excited as being, I believe, the second NFT ticketing event in potentially the planet. I know Gary V beat us by 1 week, and he claims to be the first. So I don't know how many events were between the two whatever 5 days from Saturday to Thursday, but we're definitely one of the first. And so first of all, hats off to the entire Cryptopia team being a great partner. Hats off to the entire Ocavu team working some Herculean hours to pull this off. What worked extremely well was the seamless nature by which attendees were able to pull up their ticket and then have that scanned by an iOS mobile app called Ocavu Gate, and that's the gatekeeper. So to just really quickly walk you through that user experience, what happened is that earlier you had to either log into Ocavu with a super simple, just entering your phone number and email, sends you an authorization code, no passwords required, two-factor authenticates you, and then it checks to see if you have a Eventbrite ticket. Automatically, if you do, it displays the homepage and your Eventbrite ticket and in the form of a rotating QR code. Secondarily, if you already did that, an event goer goes to the event. At the event gate, there would be a QR code that you scan. That QR code, with just one simple scan, automatically logs you in to the Cryptopia website with the Ocavu wallet, automatically opens that wallet, and automatically shows your ticket in one seamless exercise. It took about a second to a second and a half for that entire experience to happen. And then it took maybe a tenth of a second for the scanner to scan that and then allowed you to come in. We had some interesting statistics. There were close to 900 attendees that registered for the event, and we had close to 830 scans. So what that means, well, that's good, because you wouldn't want the numbers to be the other way around. That would be a bug. So what that means is that we had some no-shows, which at every event you're going to have that. And then I think that there were some staff and Ocavu employees and things of that nature that made up some of the balance of that didn't get scanned. For example, the gatekeepers themselves that had the mobile app probably didn't scan their own tickets. And so that kind of made up the balance of about 60, 70 of those tickets. Overall, it was about as seamless as an initial beta launch could possibly go. And we have so many things with ticketing, just ticketing in general. And in the future, we have the concept of season tickets that we're working on. We have we actually have 2 or 3 patent pending opportunities with tickets. And then, of course, the concept of being able to trade tickets and the organization getting royalties with each of those trades. All of those are part of our roadmap in the coming months. These aren't things that are years out. These are things that are months out. And then, of course, one of the other things is that Ocavu Network users are going to be able to fire up their own events and mint their own NFTs, which then can be designated as tickets and scan those. So you can actually have an NFT ticket event as small as, backyard barbecue, baby shower, even like Sunday brunch, something along those lines. And you can have all kinds of fun with it there. So the sky's the limit. We have some really large organizations that are talking with us in preliminary conversations in the tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of tickets. So the category of tickets is amazing, and it's just one facet of the Ocavu network. We're also getting into, obviously, the concept of NIL, name, image, and likeness with respect to NFTs, and also the concept of just allowing communities to monetize as well as create collections and allow fans to engage with those communities and using Web3 technologies, all powered by the Ocavu network across each one of those community platforms. So that kind of gets you a ground zero look at ticketing and how it worked, and how we're planning to have it work in the future, as well as some of the exciting things that you'll just have to wait to see to get the full effect.
So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, just so that people know what to expect going forward. And obviously, those of you, there've been a lot of people asking, inside of the Cryptopia Discord, like, what do I do with my keys? How do I get more? What does that really mean?
Oh yeah.
And the reality is, that's up to Cryptopia. We're providing the tools and the platform, and we're going to be working with them to make sure that this all happens really nicely and smoothly, and continuing to improve and update. And the bottom line is, the ticket that you received for Cryptopia, the key, is different than any other ticket you've ever received, right? It's more than a ticket, and it's going to keep, it's going to be the ticket that keeps on giving, right? Everybody that did show up to Cryptopia, we've airdropped an NFT to your Ocavu network, and that is an NFT that is redeemable for 100 Ocavu tokens, right? Today, that's $5. Thursday night, at one point, that was worth $30. Right. And, the token obviously is going to be volatile early on, and will stabilize and then grow over time as the network grows, right? As the value of the network grows, theoretically, then the value of the token can improve. But for now, hey, it's $5, right? You take it. And the instructions for redeeming those things will come soon. So there's a few things that we're adding to the Ocavu network, to those Ocavu network wallets that will go live here in the coming week to 2 weeks. One is the ability to send or trade that NFT to somebody else, right? You could just send that, and wherever that NFT sits, the day that the Ocavu token drop happens, that's where they'll go, right? Now, one thing I should mention is any sort of NFT with utility like that in the Ocavu network must be in the Ocavu network to redeem the utility. Right? If you send it over to your MetaMask, it's an NFT, right? It's tradable, right? You can put it on OpenSea and trade it for whatever you want. But OpenSea doesn't have the APIs and everything needed to recognize, oh, hey, I need to redeem this for something, right? That has to stay inside of the Ocavu network for it to work. The other thing that we'll be updating very soon is the ability to send and receive crypto tokens or currencies inside of the Ocavu network. It's a fully functioning Polygon wallet. Right. So you would be able to send you'd be able to send Matic over there. You'd be able to send whatever you need. Um, except that it doesn't, like MetaMask, require Matic to send things back and forth in the same way. So we have some really cool features that are going to be usable inside of that. And we'll be able to drop tokens to you there, send them over somewhere else. We might say, hey, we have a promotion where if you have 1,000 Ocavu tokens, then you're eligible for some airdrop or whatever it is, right? There's all kinds of things we can do inside of those wallets. Not only for Ocavu holders themselves, but also for the next level of communities and tokens that are powered by the Ocavu network, right? So, anyway, stand by on the Cryptopia stuff. I know that Scott Paul and team have a lot of really, really cool things coming along. So I have a question here from Doug that says, can you talk about the Ocavu name and logo? Yeah, I think that's absolutely worth addressing. So Ocavu used to be Seek, right? I think many of you on here know that. Mike and I again co-founded that, and it was not easy to say, all right, let's change this. 6 years being Seek, we built up a good name, and Seek really does have a good name in the market. A lot of companies change, they rebrand because their old brand wasn't good enough, or it wasn't, people had bad things to say about it if you Googled it. But you can Google Seek and you'll just find a lot of really cool articles about us and great customers. We have so many amazing customers, ranging from Walmart to Lego to Nestle to Universal Pictures. And we've worked with a lot of awesome people, even Liam Neeson. And so Seek, there's nothing bad with Seek, other than the fact that a lot of other companies out there also thought Seek was a great brand name or a great product name or whatever, right? And so one of our core products is called Seek Studio, or it was called Seek Studio. And if you look up Seek Studio on Google, it's a yoga studio up in Salt Lake, right? And so you can, there's hundreds of companies around the world that use Seek in their name. And as we prepared to enter this kind of next phase of growth, also showing that we're very fully transitioning to a full-on Web3 company that can support everything that we have done: 3D, AR, VR, XR, metaverse, and adding in this entire Web3 layer of NFTs and tokens and blockchain to everything. We felt like it was worthy of considering a rebrand. And then how did we come up with the name? We looked at a lot of options, right? There's one thing that you always want in a brand is short, right? 5 letters is pretty awesome, right? If we could do 1 letter, we would have done that. If A.com was available, we would have taken that one, and we would have become the A token and all of it anyway. But Ocavu was an available domain. And it was one of about 150, and it got just narrowed down and narrowed down and narrowed down. It was a big branding exercise led by a very, very talented group of people. And Ocavu had the right feel. And then it was about, okay, how do we really make this shine? And again, a very, very talented team worked on the typeface. The logo that you see here is kind of temporary. It's gonna stay very similar to this, but it's gonna change a little bit more. But you've kind of got the basic feel. This color, we really like this color scheme that you see on the background here and inside of the logo, and even inside of the typeface there. A couple of cool things about the typeface that make it really strong, in my opinion, and in people that are smarter than me, their opinion. The C and the A and the U, they're all the same shape. They're just turned differently, right? Obviously the A has an extra line in there, but that shape is repeating throughout it. And that makes for a very strong, memorable logo. It flows well, good round, flowing colors, with also the V, because of how it's shaped like that, that shows a bit of momentum and movement, right? Speed forward is what that's showing. And so the typeface itself, right? The font, as other people might call it, and it's not quite a font, but that's what that means. Just allows us to kind of show that we're moving in a new direction, and it's going to be fast, and it's going to be really, really powerful. I also feel like it's very, very billion-dollar brand feeling, right? Not that we're setting out to be a billion-dollar brand, but we're setting out to create value that will affect billions of people. And so that's a little bit about that. Logo itself, one of the themes that has yet to come out in any of what you've seen here, and it might even be just kind of abstract, but water is actually a theme. And so obviously the moon is a huge thing that impacts water, movement of water around the world. And so there's a little bit of a moon inside of a moon kind of feel here. And this was very organic, very easy to recognize and remember. And so that's really what you want in a logo, right? You want something that's simple, easy to remember, and that has a story behind it. And the reality is the logo is still being worked on a little bit. I've seen the latest iterations as of the last time I saw them was actually at Cryptopia. I pulled them up, saw some new things, and so that's coming. It's coming along. But good question, Doug. That's fun to talk about. Okay, let's keep moving forward here. Let's talk a little bit about the token launch. I just want to talk a little bit about it. Many people did come and get involved early on. And they're really, one thing that I do want to share that we've learned, right, for anybody on here that's saying, hey, I want to launch a token in the future, right? And we do plan on launching more tokens, which is what I'm really excited to talk about. When you launch a token, say on the Polygon network, right, the way that you do it is you have to actually seed liquidity, which means we're going to take some of our Ocavu tokens, we're going to take some USDC, we're going to create a pair, and as soon as we create liquidity, now you can trade between those two tokens, right? And then, of course, Sushi Swap makes it really easy after that to trade pretty much anything that's happening in there, right? So, we really want to improve launch mechanics, right? And how we can really help fair launches happen, right? Because we did what we call a fair launch or a free launch, right? We seeded it, boom, there it goes, right? I purchased some. I'm pretty sure others on this call purchased some with their own money, and I wasn't able to get as much as I wanted, right? And I know that the price went up really, really high. I think all the way up to 31 cents, which put us in the top 100 tokens of all cryptos. Within that happened in the first hour, right? Which is absolutely crazy. But the reality is, in a token, right, the only thing that creates value in a token is utility of the token. And at launch with the Ocavu Network Token, there is no utility. There's future utility, right? And there's things that we're working on as a company that we're going to tell you about today, but there's no utility. And therefore, the only thing that drives the price up is buys. And the only thing that drives the price down is sells, right? And so therefore, it's up to, a free market to decide who wants to buy, who wants to sell, and people can do that. And so my only non-financial advice that I'm going to give is, only participate in things that you understand, right? And the reality is, a lot of people did make money, and a lot of people did lose money with the launch, depending on where they in that this action that they bought. And that happens in anything. If you've ever participated in an IPO in the stock market, very similar patterns. If you've ever just bought a stock in the stock market, if you've been in the last month, you know what it feels like for a price to go down with virtually everything. But at the same time, we didn't launch a token to get a bunch of gains in 3 days. That's not the point. What we're building is value for years and decades into the future, right? And so many of those values that we're bringing to the table, that value that we're bringing to the table will be very apparent here in the next, even few weeks. We're going to be launching new things. So as you can see in our light paper, which I encourage you to read, if you have not had a chance to do that, you can go to ocavu.live and click on the light paper link right there at the top. One of the things that we are doing is we are helping communities onboard into Web3. And one of the ways for them to onboard into Web3 is to launch their own tokens, right? And so one of the things that we'll be doing is pairing the Ocavu Network Token with their new token, right? And providing liquidity. We're taking our own assets and putting it up and pairing it with a new token to launch. And we'll be doing that probably on a monthly basis, and maybe even faster than that as this continues to grow. But we have several tokens now in the planning and soon to be launched phase. The next one that I did announce on stage is called the Mixtape Token, with a company called Mixtape Social Music. And look them up. They're awesome. You could just Google Mixtape Social Music and you'll find some really cool things. But the they're going to be launching a token, and we are going to be helping them do that. Now, obviously, we learned a lot in our own token launch last week, and so as far as just like UI things and where we're pulling information from, those things will be nice. Those are easy to learn from and smooth out for the next launch. One thing that we would like to improve is fairness and broadness of the launch. There were two people, and this happened with the Giddy token recently. This happened, with almost every launch. You can see when you go look up those first purchases, right? I think we seeded the liquidity pool at 0.289 cents. So in dollars, 0.00289, right? Very, very small. So obviously, if you get even a $25,000 purchase in there or a $5,000 purchase in there, that's substantial. It's a huge amount of tokens. And so there were two people, one person got 6.5 million tokens roughly, and another person got 5.5 million tokens roughly. And then it was pretty distributed after that. And so if you look at all of the buys and sells that have happened over the last 4 days or so, there's really only about 2 or 3 wallets that have done any of the selling. Most people are just like, hey, I've got my Ocavu Network token. I believe in the long-term value, and I'm sitting around here, right? I'm waiting for this thing to go to the next phase. I'm one of those people sitting around waiting for that next phase, and or maybe not waiting around, but building that next phase, and very excited about that piece. But ultimately, you're going to have people that take advantage of it, and they get in and they spend $20,000 or $60,000, and they manage to get $100,000 through, and then they're just in it for the money, right? They're just going to make some money, they're going to get a bunch of tokens, and they're going to dump them, and they go from 100,000 to 300,000 or whatever it is that they do. And so ultimately they'll run out of those tokens after they sell them, and then the token stabilizes, right, as that happens. So that's just, again, tokenomics 101 or maybe 202. There's some fairly advanced features in there, but there's a reason why you have to be an accredited investor typically to participate in an IPO, or to participate in any of these things, is because there's you got to understand what you're getting into. And I know that a lot of people here have done very, very well with tokens, and could teach me so much. And so please don't take any of my comments as, oh, hey, you're not as smart as me, because reality is I didn't get any. I think I spent 10 or 20 grand like the night of. Like I couldn't get in. I couldn't get my purchase to go through because Sushi Swap was very congested, and then I was so tired. And I wanted people to get in. I really wanted people to, that wanted to be able to participate, to do that. And so I just it was really interesting to watch. Very, very good learning experience for all of us. But again, regardless of that, the price of the Ocavu Network token doesn't actually impact our ability to deliver our product. If the price sits at 1 penny or if it sits at $100, we can actually do all of our mechanics of powering NFTs, of powering communities, of powering ticketing. All of that can be done regardless of the price, because of the way that we structure all of that. And we will be sharing, we'll be very, very transparent with how that works as we continue to nail down a lot of the numbers. But let me give an example. I'm going to give just an example transaction here. Let's say we're powering an NFT platform for a sports team, okay? And there's an NFT that wants to be purchased for $100, and somebody wants to use an American Express card to do it. That's one of the values we're providing as the Ocavu Network, is an on-ramp into crypto, right? So they'll swipe, and that will actually be just a normal Stripe transaction. Behind the scenes, that Stripe transaction for $100 will purchase Ocavu Network tokens, right? And then we'll use those Ocavu Network tokens to buy the NFT and transfer it over to that person's wallet. That's how that process will work, right? That all happens inside of the Ocavu Network. Then when somebody wants to, the problem is then the person that sold that NFT, let's say the sports team, right, they need their cut of that, right? And everybody needs their cut of that, and it needs to be probably in US dollars. So at some point, the Ocavu token has to be sold again in order to do that. So if you buy of $100 of Ocavu and then you sell $100 of Ocavu, well, there's going to be, it's a wash, right? It's going to drive the price up this much and down this much. And so you're just going to have a flat wash sale. Okay. So one of the things that we will be doing is there will be a very tiny percentage right, that will be part of the transaction fee that we already have built into there, because there's already a transaction fee when you swipe a credit card, right? It's anywhere from 1% to 3%, depending on if you're using a Visa, a debit card, or an American Express or a Discover. They all have different rates, and so there's already a fee being charged, and so that's part of the transaction fee that's in there. But there's going to be a little tiny piece of that as well, where we will actually be able to buy a tiny bit more Ocavu than we sell, right? So that's one little example of how, in that case, we'll provide, with $100, maybe it's $1 of positive buy pressure versus sell pressure. And then if you multiply that by 60,000 tickets in a stadium, or 100,000 NFTs for a sports team, and then you multiply that by 100 communities out there, now you can start to see how the value of the Ocavu Network Token can be impacted long-term, and the value of the Ocavu Network delivering this easy access to Web3 for communities, brands, tickets, all of that. That starts to all kind of fit in together. Any comments from Chris, Mike, Jeremy on any of that before I move to the next?
That's good.
Piece. Okay. Let me look at a couple questions. So what happens after 8 months? Great question. Really, yes, this is in reference to the streaming rewards that are happening for the next 8 months on Ocavu.live. These rewards are really meant to reward early adopters. That's what they're for, right? Hey, come and stake your cryptos in there if you want to provide liquidity. One of the things you'll also notice in the light paper is that we will potentially adjust those numbers. Right now it's 88x, 88x, 8888. We went with our theme of eights across the board for the launch. Some of those things might change. We might cut the Ocavu pool in half to 44, right? And make the liquidity pool keep that at 88. We might drop Ethereum and USDC and Bitcoin to 2x. We might drop those things based on the current needs of the Ocavu network, right? And that will be to optimize the Ocavu network working at as low slippage as possible and as fast as possible, right? And so we want to be able to incentivize the network and move it around. But after 8 months, there will continue to be ways that stakers will be able to earn interest. Part of it is actually powered through sushi.com. There's that liquidity pool. There's actually a reward that goes into those pairs. And so that will always be there. That's something that's actually technically out of our control. But anyway, that's what happens after 8 months. There will also be ongoing rewards for being an Ocavu Network Token holder. And this is one thing that I'm really, really excited about. And what I want to do is I want to address the next question from Discord that says, why launch a token or a staking platform when we're not like Giddy? Good question. Yeah, we're actually very much not like Giddy, right? Giddy isn't the purpose of Giddy's token, as far as I understand it, is to act as a universal gas, amongst other things, which you can read in their light paper, to help power their Robinhood of DeFi platform, which I really believe in. I think it's awesome. Robinhood of DeFi. Let's make it easy for people to be able to get into these things if they want to. Again, do your own research, right? But that's the purpose of that. The purpose of the staking platform for Giddy is to provide or create liquidity in Giddy. They want to make Giddy tradable and usable. And in order to do that, there must be a pair of Giddy in there, right? It's got to be Giddy and something so that you can actually trade and purchase Giddy. That makes it usable. And so for us, it's the same thing. We need to be able to provide liquidity for the Ocavu Network Token. We need it to be tradable and usable so that it can power everything that we're doing. And for those that are willing to show up and help provide liquidity, there are rewards, right? Some of which are very evident on the Ocavu.live launch site, and some of which I'm about to talk about in a minute, okay? So let's talk about that. As I mentioned, one of the primary things that we're doing is launching additional community tokens. And these additional community tokens are, that you've got Mixtape Social, there's going to be sports teams, college teams, brands, YouTube channels, influencers, artists. There's going to be so many groups that have different needs and reasons for their own utility token. They want to be able to reward their fans. They want people to be able to invest in their community and have ownership in their community, different things like that, right? And be able to purchase digital assets within their own kind of market and really do it in a decentralized manner, right? We can talk more another time about the decentralized nature of Web3, and in fact, watch some of our old webinars and you'll see a lot of that, right? We can talk about it more in the future as it relates to the Ocavu Network Token. But ultimately, because they want to create a utility token, their token's useless unless it's tradable. And what makes it tradable? Liquidity, right? And so we will be doing that, the same thing, like I said, we'll be providing that liquidity. Now, for Ocavu Network Token holders, we will be doing something really, really cool. In the future, we had a big, like many hours of debriefs, and we've done a lot of research and more things about how do we create a more stable launch around a new utility token so that it doesn't, go up and crash and go low and whatever. How do you create more stability, right? And one of the primary things, at least early on, is who gets, how many wallets get outsized allocations, right? And unfortunately, just the way that SushiSwap works is the first transactions that go through, the most efficient network connections, or the person that clicked it, half a second, a microsecond, 0.001 seconds before the next person gets it, right? It's like when you're playing Call of Duty and you killed that guy, you pushed shoot first, but somehow you're dead, right? And it's because he had lower latency than you did. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And that doesn't seem very fair or fun, And so we want to make it more fair. We want to make it as fair as possible. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use the Ocavu network, and you're going to have to log into the system, and you'll be able to even purchase it with an Amex if you want, to be able to buy a pre-sale of the tokens at a set price, right? So let's take the exact numbers from the Ocavu Network Token launch. We seeded the pool with roughly 26 million Ocavu Network tokens and $75,000 in USDC. And so what that meant is that meant that those first $75,000 of transactions that went through were probably going to get a lot of tokens, right? That's usually just what happens. So instead, we'll say, okay, what's the average price of those first tokens to be sold? And I think we did some research this morning, and it was some forensics this morning. And I think 16 million tokens were purchased under 2 cents. I think that's what we came up with, right? So if we were to then take that math and divide it out and whatever, and say, okay, what if we let a bunch of people, whatever the number is, 800 people, or I don't know, 80 people, and buy $500 a piece worth of that token, and we'll sell it at an average of 1 penny. So everybody gets in at a penny that gets to participate in this pre-sale. And then as soon as we've met that first element there, then we can see the pool at a higher number at 2 cents, which then stops people from buying, millions of tokens at fractions of a penny. What that will do is naturally spread things out. And so for the next token launch, the mixtape token launch, this is what we're going to do, right? We will whitelist a certain number of people to be able to buy these early. Now, how do you get whitelisted? That's a big question. That will be based on what's called your monthly daily average of your Ocavu holdings. And so we will take a daily snapshot, basically, of all of the wallets that hold Ocavu Network tokens for 30 days leading up to that launch, right? And this will be an ongoing process, right? And so you can't just buy a bunch of tokens the day before, because your daily average will be 29 days of 0 and 1 day of a lot, right? And so it'll average out, you'll get a 30th. So this will promote holding the token long-term and provide more stability, right? So if you have, 1,000 tokens or 100,000 tokens or 1,000,000 tokens or 1 token, whatever it is, whatever your balance is, that will give you a certain number of shares into a pool. And then we will, just like a lottery pick for draft day, right? You get a certain number of whatever because of how well your team did and all those different things. we'll do a stream on a webinar like this, and everyone will get to see, and we'll see what addresses get whitelisted. That'll be based off of your holdings proportional to all of the holdings of Ocavu Network Token. So if you hold a lot, you're going to get a lot of chances to participate in that. And what will happen is, let's say we're going to let 100 people in on the pre-launch, or let's say 500 people. That's more fun and more realistic, probably what we're going to do. And maybe even 5,000 people with a really, really big community, right? If we're doing it for Dude Perfect, or if we're doing it for some huge band, obviously there could be a huge amount of people. But what we'll do is each of you will get allocated an NFT, right? All the whitelists will get an NFT. That NFT will then allow you to participate. That will give you access to the site where you can purchase those tokens during the pre-mint. That NFT will be perfectly tradable. And that NFT probably will be worth something like $5,000, right? If you're going to spend $500 and it's going to be worth, $5,000, then it's in that case worth $4,500. So that NFT will actually have value. So if you're like, oh yeah, I won, but you know what? I just want to sell this to someone else so they can participate in it. More than welcome to do that, right?
We get one question about whether staking or unstaked tokens are going to be counted in the monthly daily average. And I think that that's something that is under R&D. We definitely don't want to disincentivize staking. And so that's definitely going to be part of the R&D over the course of the next few weeks as we build out this price discovery feature. And there's been some people call it a fair launch, some people call it a flat launch, those different types of things. What we're really trying to do is have a more efficient price discovery instead of this chaotic. There's two ways to come to a price. You can either have extreme volatility and end up at a price, or you can do more efficient price discovery and have just a small amount of volatility and then end up with a price. We want the second. So we're coming up with ways of doing that price discovery. We definitely don't want that price discovery, though, to disincentivize staking. So we'll look into that as we do that monthly daily average.
Yeah, and I will answer Leo's question here. He said, will you exclude the employees and investors who were airdropped free tokens for whitelists? And the answer is 100% yes. We will not include any employee or investor airdropped tokens. Now, if that employee has purchased separately, totally up to them, and that's fine, right? But any airdropped tokens from the cap table allotment that is detailed in the light paper will be excluded from these airdrops.
And just a quick summary, this is actually something the NBA does on draft day. So if any of you are familiar with the NBA draft, we're taking a little bit of cue from that ping pong ball lottery.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, John, that I thought was a good question is the difference between the 88X Ocavu stake and the 88X Ocavu USD pair. And do you want to talk a little bit about the strategy on why one versus the other, depending on the staked amount?
Yeah, there's a few reasons for that. We've looked at there's lots of pools out there. Giddy is one example that did 10, 40 and 111, but this principle has been around for a long time. It's in virtually, it's in Pancake Swap and it's in Sushi Swap, and all pools have multipliers and different things like that. We really wanted to be a little bit different and say, hey, we want to really promote the value of the Ocavu token itself, and provide a little less downward selling pressure that always comes from that Ocavu USDC pool. And we really believe that those pools will balance themselves out over time. Of course, early on in a launch, you're going to expect a lot more to be in the Ocavu token itself. But also, as we adjust the multipliers over time, we also expect that to say, oh, hey, this dropped a little bit. Now I'm going to move over to here and we want to do this, right? So it's going to be a dynamic system. And so anybody that is providing liquidity, again, remember that this isn't just a passive, activity. Pay attention, right? Be in the Discord, be active, pay attention to Ocavu.live. We'll put little notifications when we change something. Hey, just notice that we've adjusted the reward levels here. Again, these are free tokens we're giving out. And so we reserve the right to figure out what the best way to maximize benefit for the Ocavu network is. But yeah, the reality is we wanted to just have a good balance there. And then we have these 8s in there as well. Part of it's because we just like this number 8. But the USDC and the wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum, and the DAI, those are also just to allow people to bring tokens that they do trust, right, and know and believe in for whatever reason. If you believe Ethereum's, hit the bottom and it's going back up, or Bitcoin's hit the bottom and it's going back up, or I don't know, maybe there's downside, but bottom line is you like that long term and you don't want the maybe outsized volatility that you'll see in another token. Then we want you to bring that as well, because we want people to support the network in many ways and be able to participate and be around, because there's going to be some really, really cool stuff. Now, if you are staking Bitcoin, wrapped Bitcoin, wrapped Ethereum, USDC, or DAI, you will not be eligible for those whitelisting, right? That will be for the Ocavu and Ocavu USDC staked and unstaked holders. They'll all be eligible to participate in that. And so definitely, definitely consider your options there and in your strategy for when that's happening. But yeah, we're really excited about what that means. We believe that by doing a monthly daily average that follows your daily average over time, right, for a month, will promote, and it's the month leading up to that token launch, and then each respective one after that. There's going to be other things that we're going to just show up with and say, hey, congratulations to all the holders that held for the last week. You're all eligible for this airdrop. And we have a lot of fun plans for fun marketing around that. But that's not the point of the Ocavu network. The point of the Ocavu network isn't to provide a bunch of fun, gimmicky marketing things. Yeah, we're going to do it because the marketing team needs to do something, and we're going to do some fun stuff and giveaways. The reality is, guys, we are trying to create a network that can be used by major brands, artists, influencers, and businesses around the world long term. We are a B2B platform. That is what we are. Now, sorry, one sec, Chris. The mixtape token, that's a B2C company, right? And so we'll provide mechanisms and tools they can use. And so because we're providing tools and mechanisms they can use to their investors as well, or not investors, that's the wrong word, their token holders or their community members that are participating in this, we're going to try out those same things. And so as an Ocavu network token holder, you'll benefit from a lot of our testing, which will be cool stuff, right? We're going to do things like that, but really we are optimizing for this business purpose. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just to kind of reiterate that, like all of these rewards and perks, they're really fun, but they're not the core business model. A lot of people, I've seen comparisons between Giddy and Ocavu, and we get why Giddy does it, but why does Ocavu do it? And actually, it's not really Giddy's business model either. It's just a rewards incentive for people who want to be early engagers in their platform before the utility exists. And so you got to look at it that way, and look at it that what we're really doing is we're trying to build awareness of the platform. And along the way, there are going to be fun rewards and fun ways to engage with the platform.
If it wasn't going to be fun, then we wouldn't have our colors be this like pink and purple and blue. That's just, it feels like cotton candy to me.
It's the same way. It's the same reason why I have these.
Giddy, that's right. He's a Giddy right there.
I got some Giddy stickers just because that's not their business model, but it's just fun. It's fun to give the community rewards for engaging early.
Yeah, so we'll airdrop into things that let you redeem it for free t-shirt. We'll do some cool stuff, guys. So
there's a good question. There's a good question in the chat here about the specifics around the whitelist and the NFT, and then the specifics around that. Our answer to that is stay engaged on the Discord and the Ocavu.live discussion threads. All the information will be fully disclosed there. And it might be different for each coin drop, depending on that organization's creativity, ideas, and specific requirements. So the number one key is not looking at some generic rule, but stay engaged in the community, stay on Discord.
Yeah, I can promise you that every brand is going to want to do something unique, right? I mean, we announced a partnership with Mary Ruth Organics, and we're not launching a token with them at this moment. We may in the future, but I can promise you that their strategy will be different from Mixtape Social, right? I mean, and will be different from a college sports team or a professional basketball team or a restaurant or whatever, right? And there are legitimate business cases for having utility tokens for each of these different types of entities. We want to help these entities be able to launch something with liquidity, with utility, and provide the tools and systems and processes to fully onboard them into Web3, not only on the token side that we've been talking about a lot today, but also on the traditional side of what Seek originally brought to the table, which is the entire 3D world, right?
Another thing to add is
ahead.
that we're actually also offering people a way to get into Web3 just through all this fun exercise that, like, I have plenty of people that I've introduced to both Giddy and Ocavu who have zero experience in Web3, and now they're actually very well informed, and we believe strongly that Web3 is the future. There's so much utility and power in Web3, and so part of this really fun process of joining in with both Giddy and Ocavu and staking and keeping up with the Discord channel and all the communication is that you get to learn a lot about Web3, which I think personally is going to be of massive value to everybody who is an early adopter and gets deeply embedded in understanding how Web3 works and how blockchains work and those things.
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Mike, we haven't heard from you. Say something awesome about Ocavu.
Yeah. So, I mean, the thing, just piggybacking off of what Chris was going on, and really, I always have an elevator pitch for our different business pivots. And the one that really clicked with me, that I can explain in like a couple of sentences, is kind of shifting from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0 and now Web 3.0, which is, so Web 2.0 is centralized ownership. So Web 3.0 is decentralized ownership, which is really giving the power back to the communities. And we're making that easier. And I look back to what Shopify did for brands to make it easy to sell stuff, like you, John, with your music. It was so easy to just go on your Shopify site, create a Shopify website and sell your stuff under your name, which is really cool. We're allowing brands to do that under their name with the latest in technology. And it was an easy pivot from 3D and AR to add in the blockchain, right? To add in NFTs and tokens and all of these great things that decentralize ownership. The other thing I would add to that is it adds a lot of transparency, right? We're going to be doing some really fun things. Jeremy, Chris, John, we were just talking about doing randomized giveaways, right? Where you can actually see open source that the randomized prize was truly given to this wallet, right? Which could be owned by, a student or a grandma or, your dad. And to see that live right there kind of takes, there's a lot of trust that's lost in a randomized giveaway on Instagram where the Instagram owner isn't forced to actually give out that Tesla that they did, right? Maybe they'll go take pictures and stuff, but technically they could lie about it. Whereas on Web3, you see all of the details surrounding that, that prize or airdrop, and you see exactly who got what. I think it's really cool. So
I love that, Mike. I just want to, sorry, you might have more to say. I just want to comment on that really quickly because Web3 is about transparency.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what everybody wants, right? Like everyone wants to trust that businesses are,
ethical,
fair and whatever, and ethical but Web3 allows for full transparency. You can see everything that happens. And so if we can provide that transparency as part of a way to allow brands, influencers, artists, everybody to engage with their community, that's gonna be awesome for them. Sorry, Mike, keep going.
And I would expand on this. I mean, we have a lot of business inquiries and proposals to us all the time. One of which was given to you, John, for title deeds to a house. I mean, someday, once we get through all the red tape and everything, but Ocavu and others will help usher in the ability to see everyone who's owned a house on chain, right? And it'll take I think it's a multi-billion-dollar issue of, fraud, right? Especially title fraud over the years has been a huge problem. And we actually just purchased a house and saw that the seller had to purchase title fraud insurance, meaning they did their job and saw that no one else owns the house. But just in case some brother-in-law or, cousin comes in and says, actually, that's my house, they had to pay hundreds of dollars for insurance on something that technically should have just been transparent right there. Boom, boom, boom. Here's the 5 owners of that house. Guys, this technology is as disruptive as email was back in the day. And it doesn't mean that a lot of the things that are done on Web3 can't be done, with Web 2.0. But the analogy to that is, oh, why don't I just send a letter to Europe, right? Well, it's because you can send an email instantly. And why not just do a randomized giveaway, right? The way we're currently doing it. Well, it's because there's zero transparency for the end users, right? There's a benefit to Web3 that the world is quickly waking up to. Another thing that Chris mentioned was onboarding people into Web3. I know just from giving money to friends, giving Giddy tokens and whatever to friends, they loved how easy it was. At midnight, I could sit there and just give my dad whatever amount of money I wanted, right, to pay him back for something. And I didn't have to go and call up a bank and ask for permission to do that. I had 100% autonomy and control over my finances. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
One thing, I just got a really good question, John, in here. How or where do we buy Ocavu tokens?
Well, that's a pretty basic question. If you're interested in buying Ocavu tokens and you aren't familiar with Web3, it's going to be a little bit of a learning process for you. Do we have a video yet in the community of how to buy it? I know Giddy did. A lot of users did a lot of videos of how to buy it. You can do it through ocavu.live. It looks like one of our people just said, hey, I can make a step-by-step video. I think that'd be great. And then we'll post it into our Discord so that resource is available there. But the short answer is transfer money from your bank through crypto.com or Coinbase, move it over to a MetaMask, use MetaMask to connect to sushi.com and buy the Ocavu token. That's going to be
the short answer.
That's the short answer. And that's a long process. Like I could take an hour explaining all of that and it could take days for you to actually execute on what I just said.
Well, one of the things that may sound a little complicated to some people who are noobs in the Web3 world, but I'll try to give people the analogy of a credit card. And so if someone asked you, well, how do you make a credit card purchase? John's going to come to you and say, what do you mean? You pull it out of your wallet and swipe a card. What are all the steps though that John did to make that credit card be in his wallet? Well, he had to have a good credit history. He had to be more than 21 years old. He had to go apply for something. He had to get accepted. He had to get that card out of the mail and he had to activate that card. And then he had to sign the back of it.
Yeah.
All of those things had to happen so that at the end, he could merely pull the credit card out of his wallet and swipe it. And that's the same thing with buying Ocavu. You have to onboard onto Web3. What John just explained to you are some of the basic steps of Web3 onboarding. Once you are onboarded, it's a fairly trivial step. There's 2 or 3 places where you can go.
It's like Mike said, like he's sending Giddy to people, like it's no problem, instantaneously. Once you're onboarded, it's very, very easy, but it takes a minute. So I want to answer, there's 3 questions here that I want to answer that I have not answered yet. This is an AMA and I really want to focus on the questions there. First one is from Zach. He said, when will the threshold be determined for whitelisting? So we're going to do we don't know the exact launch date of the mixtape token. It could be in 30 days, it could be in 60 days. That's going to be based on, Mixtape Social really. And it's their company, right? We're providing tools and then they will do that. Now we'll provide as much information as possible. So as soon as we have a date, we might do that. We might announce the date a week before, which means, and we'll say, and this is going to be a 30-day look back. So bottom line is we want to encourage people to hold Ocavu Network Token and be ready for things that are coming, right? And so it's going to be based on the business and we might not have information in time to be able to tell you, but we will do a 30-day monthly daily average look back. You can write that down, 30-day monthly daily average look back. Okay. So that's how the threshold will be determined for whitelisting and your share in that pool of whitelisting. So the next thing, next question I want to answer here is JV. He said, I'm picturing Ocavu holders being whitelisted for Mixtape and others, buying it and then selling it on launch, meaning selling it being Mixtape, because they're not interested in the Mixtape token for its inherent utility in its community. While that's good for Ocavu holders, isn't that inherently bad for the health of the the community token itself? Yeah, absolutely. If there's more sell pressure on the Mixtape token on launch day because a bunch of people have it and they just want to sell it, all right, well, they should just sell the NFT before so they don't get it, right? And they don't have to worry about that. It will be up to Mixtape and other community holders to make their utility clear, right? How is this token going to allow their community to participate in new ways that they can't today? How is it going to make their experience better? Right? That's really what a token is going to be about. If they can't answer that question, which by the way, we're asking them, then we won't help them launch a token. Right? There has to be very apparent value, real value that they're creating with a utility token. Otherwise, just keep doing your transactions in US dollars, right? Because that works. And you can use your credit card that you already went through the process to get into your wallet. Okay. We're going to help communities launch tokens that have value. And we're going to provide tools that help them execute on that value and administer that value. That really is what the entire Ocavu network is about. And that leads to the last question here. Let's go there. Okay, so the real value, so this is from Quentin. So the real value is the use cases Ocavu can bring to Web3. Besides AR and XR and ticketing, what other use cases are you most excited about? And which ones do you think will be the core business model? I'm in marketing, and I'm curious to see what part of Ocavu is going to be the breadwinner as the network utility token takes off. So I want us to end this call, this AMA, by each of us answering this question, right? So let me ask it again. I'll answer it last. We'll go Jeremy, Mike, Chris, and then me. I just kind of went around the circle here. But so besides AR and XR and ticketing, what other use cases are you most excited about for the Ocavu network?
Yeah, probably the most exciting is just the simplification of engagement of the users with the Ocavu network. So some of the things, I've got a bunch of things, but we've put together a pretty good roadmap. But one of them is just the concept of doing NFT minting and being able to sell those and create the collections that you want. Another one is gated content. Another one is gated experiences. There's a long list here that we have on our development roadmap with respect to the Ocavu network. But the point, to answer John's question, is we're going to bring Web3 capabilities, not just to a particular platform or website, but we're bringing a meta, we call it a meta layer. And that is what the Ocavu network does. And that meta layer can be on any digital property that you have, be it a website, a mobile app, a metaverse, anything that you can think of. And so you are not saying, what are the OpenSea APIs? And then going back into that $1 trillion centralized model where you're trying to build your community and your presence on Facebook or build your community and presence on Twitter. Similarly, that's kind of what OpenSea is doing, is they're requiring launches, and there's a lot of control there. You heard about Yuga Labs wanting to come up with their own marketplace and their own layer one because they want to take control of that. That's what Ocavu Network does for brands and influencers. It allows them to take back control, but giving them all of these community engagement and Web3 capabilities with NFTs, with tokens, with gated access, all of those different types of things. So that's probably the most exciting thing to me, is giving these new capabilities for existing communities and existing digital properties, web, mobile, and metaverse.
Thanks, Jeremy. Mike?
Yep. I'm most excited for communities to, so I'm most excited for brands and communities to engage with each other in a more trustworthy and transparent way. And there's a lot that goes into that, both from ownership of things, rewards, engagement, communication, all of that. I love the idea of the brand truly owning their audience, and the idea of the fans having some feeling of ownership and engagement with their brand more than what we've had on Web 2.0. I think if we can do that, then the Web 3.0 has hit its max potential. If brands and fans love each other and engage with each other in a trustworthy and transparent way, because it's not perfect right now. Web 2.0 is not perfect, as we clearly found in the last 10 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Chris, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks ago, it could have been 4 weeks ago now. Time has gone by so oddly, but Jeremy and myself and Isaac and Sturgis, some other guys here at Ocavu, we jumped on and we did a webinar, and the topic was all about building strength around Web3 and where does it really knock it out of the park, and in my mind it was the trustless nature of Web3. We talked a lot about how, like, when you first started with YouTube, when they first came out, it was like pretty easy to earn money, and that process has slowly gotten worse and worse. And I had a YouTube channel at one point, and this was like back when I was in high school, and had my 800 subscribers and quite a few views, and in a month I made $200, and I was pretty stoked on that. And I woke up to an email one day and it was like, hey, by the way, you now have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, and as well as like a million minutes of viewership in order to get paid for your video. And that was like pretty crushing for me at the time. And so anyways, I think that the decentralized nature of ownership that the Ocavu network is going to bring to communities and influencers and brands and businesses, being able to pull their content away from centralized platforms and bring their audiences with them and reward them in new, better ways, is going to be just extremely powerful and game-changing. And so I'm excited to be able to just roll with those things. Like, I think it's going to be fun for everybody. Except for maybe the big YouTube and stuff. Might not be as fun for them, but we'll see.
For sure. Web 2.0 has got to catch up if they want, it's Blockbuster versus Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
I think Chris, Mike, and Jeremy all nailed it. And I want to just echo what they said and agree with them that this new Web3 paradigm is what I'm most excited about. It's very difficult, Quentin, for me to know which specific product will just absolutely be amazing. What we're going to do, we were talking about this earlier, Instagram has a few very simple tools, right? You can follow somebody, you can like something, and you can share something. And that's about it, right? Like, follow, comment, like, share, that's it. But Instagram has hundreds and hundreds of millions of daily active users and brands and all kinds of stuff and crazy promotions going on. And the creativity comes from the community. It comes from the users and the brands and the people that are spending time using that channel to engage with their community. And obviously there's so many problems with some of these communities out there, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or YouTube. They're all these Web 2.0 solutions are basically the same. They just are dressed up a little bit differently. Some are a little more addicting than others. TikTok, I'm looking at you. But they're all basically the same. But these people figure out how to use these systems to their best benefit. We're going to create tools that will allow people to launch NFTs that gate access to content, physical or digital, right? Tickets, or maybe just getting access to a web page or a special merch shop, or an exclusive piece of content that's only viewable if you own an NFT, or maybe a chat room that's only available if you only have a specific NFT. There's so many ways you can gate content and community and control community access with NFTs and a wallet system like the Ocavu network. the utility tokens are going to open up all kinds of neat. I'm excited to have people come to us and tell us how they are going to use a utility token and how we can help power that, right? That's exciting. I'm excited to see how people engage with the metaverse and 3D and more immersive experiences. Ultimately, I believe that every brand at its core wants to provide more value, which means better products at cheaper prices. All right. And the way to do that is to create more efficient systems. If you can create a system where all returns are eliminated because you've done your job on the front end to make sure that the customer has the answer, like viewing a couch in your room using augmented reality. We've provided that service for a long time for a lot of brands, and they are seeing more efficient returns. And there are more efficient processes and less returns, right? Returns as in like ROI, right? All of these tools will be used by brands in different ways, and I'm very excited to do that. The Ocavu Network is a framework, and we will keep adding features and tools to the framework, and we'll let the brands be just magicians. That's what I'm excited about most, actually, is to see what people do with it, because it's very powerful, very exciting. And I just love this paradigm of Web3 of true individual ownership by people like, again, one of our investors that I've mentioned is Dude Perfect. And those guys slave away on YouTube, right? And they beat Chris a little bit in their numbers and their thresholds of 1 million views and 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, they're 60 million, subscribers, just absolutely off the charts. But they're slaving away making content for YouTube.
That's only because I gave up after I stopped getting paid.
Yeah, you would be probably 70 million at that point by this time, since you did that a long time ago. But anyway, it's the ownership aspect, true ownership. Artists need creators, and a creator is a very broad term for me. It's someone who draws or paints or makes music or starts a business, right? Web3 will allow people to do things in ways that people haven't even thought of yet. And I think that's what I'm most excited for. And so what I am confident in is that the Ocavu team will be building tools and listening to the market and making sure that those tools are in place to help make this happen. So I think we're done, guys. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for the good questions. Jeremy had to jump off a little bit early, he said in the chat there, but I want harder questions next time. Make me sweat a little bit. These are all good questions, don't get me wrong, right? But we're here to answer the hard questions. We want to be very, very open and help you understand where we're coming from. And during this call, we've had several people say, hey, here's an idea. And we love that. We appreciate it. We will listen to that, and we will put it into practice if it makes sense for what we're doing. So thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day yesterday. It's gonna be a little bit of a short week. It'll feel good. May is officially over. So thanks all. We'll see you.
Yeah.